What's up, co-reporters? Welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last night's episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. I've got so much to say, but before we get into that, per usual, I watch a show using Philo. It's a streaming service like Netflix, like Hayu, like Peacock, where you can watch a variety of reality shows and stations online. I think the big differentiator between Philo and the others, and I was so happy to be able to get in on that last night now that I'm in Canada, is that you get to watch this stuff like live as it's happening. You don't have to wait until the next day like you do with the other streaming services. So I do have an affiliate link in the description box of this video if you too would like to use Philo to binge watch Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup, or any of the other stations or shows that they have available. It's free for 7 days. Guys, Gypsy Rose, she has sent me on a roller coaster with this show. This was the finale episode that just aired, but at the beginning of it, I was so sympathetic to Gypsy. I was diehard for Gypsy. Towards the middle, I get a little okay, I'm starting to see both sides. I'm not as the kids say, simping so hard for Gypsy. And now with the finale episode, I was really disgusted by Gypsy and her behavior and her lack of maturity and oh my God, I'm just so upset about it all. Let's start from the beginning of the episode, shall we? And by the way, her stepmom Christy, she just seems to thrive on drama and creating chaos. And I'm not feeling her, to be honest with you. Anyway, so Gypsy, at this point in the show, she had, gone with Christy to grab her things out of the apartment. So they're riding back home to Christy and Gypsy's dad's home. Gypsy is in the car, crying. She's sad about having broken Ryan's heart and making him think that their relationship was just a prison thing, even though according to her it wasn't. But girl, you only lasted 3 months with him outside of prison, so it's looking like a prison thing, And here's a question I've got for you guys. Why is it that she never actually has any tears when she quote unquote cries? It reminds me of Amber Portwood from Teen Mom OG. Don't really love that. Anyway, they get to the home and her dad says that, and by the way, this isn't a private conversation between her parents. And so her dad said that she made a mistake marrying Ryan and that he felt the same way about Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee, when he was getting ready to marry her and everything like that. And I really thought that we were going to get a true explanation as to why it is that Gypsy left behind the dog that she wanted to get, but we never actually got that. Has she addressed that on social media, you guys? Because I was expecting for that to take place on the show. How is it that on the show you have this huge discussion about how you want to get a puppy, you get upset at your husband because he's asking all these questions to make sure that you are really committed to getting this puppy, then when things hit the fan, the first thing you leave behind outside of your husband is the puppy? Please give me an explanation after taking me along for this ride. Anyway, Gypsy tells Christy that she reached out to Ryan to tell him about how she wants to hold him and make things better. And it's girl, you caused this pain. What are you doing? Turning back to texting all this stuff. I just left you abruptly, but I want to hold you. I want to make things better, even though I'm the source of your pain. So Christy asked Gypsy, okay, well, how did Ryan respond to that? Because that's quite the text. Gypsy says, he cursed me out. I'm sorry, but with good reason. If you do that to me, leave me alone. Don't come back trying to pull at my heartstrings. It's just really toxic behavior. Then we get a flip side, which is Ryan's version of events. And so when Ryan shares his side of things, he shows us Gypsy's text messages to him. And this is when I start feeling disgusted with Gypsy. At first I was okay, maybe she's naive and stuff. Your first big relationship that just so happens to be a marriage and you just so happen to be 30. Okay. But then when Ryan's showing us the real nitty gritty of what it is that she's actually sending him, the girl is sending her pics of her with her hand here on Ken's chest. Look, Ken just came to visit me. And you knew that he was insecure about this man. This is the man you told him not to worry about. And now here you are sending him pictures of you with your hand on the man's chest. You, girl, are toxic. You are so nasty for that. That is not cool at all. And Ryan also talks about finding the outings between Gypsy and or should I say the dates between Gypsy and Ken. He's finding this stuff out through the press, and he even saw on TMZ, and let me pull up those TMZ photos, that Gypsy and Ken had gotten matching husky tattoos that when you put them together, they make a heart. And so it's kind of like, and his mom pointed this out. So she goes and gets this dog named Pixie. She immediately abandons it, not even a month later. And then she goes with her ex that she told you not to worry about, and she gets matching tattoos of dogs that she doesn't even have. Meanwhile, her real dog, this dog lover, has been abandoned by her and is sitting up in your apartment. Wow, the nerve, the absolute nerve. And then after we get all this tea, we get to listen in on a call where Ryan is talking to Gypsy and he is pissed. And I'm like, you have every right to be pissed, Ryan. The way she's playing around with you and doing all this stuff to humiliate you in public, be pissed. And so he's like, Gypsy, I can get you. Meaning I can report you for adultery. Remember, these two are living in a southern state. They're living in Louisiana. Like they still have those, like, those old school laws about the adultery and like, being married to one person, the kid, and this, that, and the other. Like the way they go about that is different than like, the more northern or more liberal states, right? And so you can tell that Gypsy's freaking out, because all this time it was fun and games to mess around with Ryan's feelings. But when she realizes that Ryan can really actually get her, and this can cause problems with her probation and her freedom, what does? She turns on the waterworks with no water, and she gets to crying with no tears and starts acting all confused and everything like that. She's like, but this has been so hard for me. Like she is faking it, and you know what this reminded me of? Muhammad and Danielle from 90 Day Fiance, where Muhammad was obviously not attracted to Danielle by any stretch of the imagination, but he did what he had to do to get that American green card, right? And then he's leaving her, and she's putting together a dossier to prove that he never actually loved her, and he scammed his way to get that green card. And he knows that she could really get him out of the country. So what does he do? He promises her his friendship, and that meant everything to Danielle. And he kept on stringing her along with that, right? With her evidence, her binder of evidence and stuff, until it was too late for her to really get him out. And so what does he do then? He drops the act. That is exactly what Gypsy was doing to Ryan, right? So unfortunately for Ryan, but fortunately for Gypsy, Ryan is down bad when it comes to Gypsy Cornelia Rose. I'm joking. Her name is not actually Cornelia. But he's down bad. So this man who's being humiliated and spit on in public asked this woman, do you still love me? Dude, get up, get some dignity, dust yourself off. What are you doing? Have her handle everything directly through a lawyer. She's a manipulator. She's playing you. Take your feelings out of this and think logically, think legally. And if you can't take your feelings out of it, all the more reason to have her speak directly to a lawyer and to cut contact with her, because what the F, she's got you exactly where she needs you, wrapped around her finger. And then to add insult to injury, he keeps on begging Gypsy, could we see each other? Can we please? Can I sniff your toenail? It's just, come on, dude. And she keeps telling him, and this I will have to give her props on. She keeps on telling him that she does not want to give him false hope. No, she doesn't want to see him because she knows that and she says this, even this phone call is giving you false hope. And it's like, now girl, why are you calling him? Leave him alone. You know that he is obsessed with you. You know that he cannot move on from you. Yet here you are calling him, talking about, I wish I could hold you. Oh, look at me with the other guy, Oh my God, this is leave him alone. It's really not cool. So then at the end, she really gets really ice cold when she tells Ryan, when all of this is over, meaning she thinks she's going to get divorced in 6 to 9, 8, whatever months, I'm going to be with Ken. That was so cruel to just casually drop that, in that phone call. It really felt like she was cold as ice and she could not care any less about her husband's feelings for her, Gypsy. And I wonder if this has to do with the fact that she was not properly socialized growing up, is that why she doesn't really understand, that it's very hurtful the way that she is behaving in this marriage, that it's very abnormal the way she's behaving in this marriage. It's just really yikes to me, And for whatever reason, in response to this, instead of being like, you know what, get off the phone with me, come through my lawyers, like we're not gonna like do this like, you know, head to head anymore. Like this is too much for me. He goes, you know, you're still Gypsy Rose Anderson, you know that? And all she could do is sigh, like, oh, I know. But Ryan, what does that even mean? You're still Gypsy Rose Anderson. That's just a name. She's telling you when it's over in 6 to 9 months, she's going to be with Ken, meaning she's going to drop the Anderson, go back to Blanchard, or add Urker. Maybe she'll be, you know, Gypsy Rose Blanchard Urker. Or maybe it should be Gypsy Rose Urker. I don't know. But she's going to drop your name. She's not stuck with it for life just because she married you at a certain point. She can always go back to her, you know, native name, right? So I felt like that was just like, oh my God, the way he acts like this is she is a possession, you know, sometimes the comments he makes are like, you know, it felt like, oh, there he goes with that again. Hang on, the dog is by the door. I'm going to let her. So anyway, at that point, she's acting so innocent, like, I can't believe I've hurt you. This hurts me to hurt you. And then they get off the phone, and then she switches, like, at the drop of a dime to, like, call up Ken, the other man, and basically laugh at Ryan with Ken. You know, she's like, yeah, I was just on the phone with Ryan, you know, like he was like this, like that. And I just, you know, it's crazy after the way she was like fake crying over those adultery charges, right? Ken asked her if there's any part of her that wants to work things out with Ryan, and she says no. Then they exchange I love yous. Even though when she was talking to Ryan on the phone, denying adultery, claiming that she and Ken never slept together, they never like did anything romantic, then if that's the case, why are you exchanging I love yous with this man? You know, and talking about you will be with him in 6 to 9 months. Like something in the buttermilk ain't clean. It's just not adding up. And on top of that, Gypsy and Ken had just spent the weekend together, which is potentially the weekend where they were doing all that boning and conceiving, right? And so this episode is super quick, fast paced, because after this, we're rushed into a scene of Gypsy getting a nose job and recovering at home. And I gotta say, like, on like in photos and on social media, I didn't really like care for the results. I felt like, okay, like I know that the nose, you know, is still swollen and stuff, but I didn't really care for the results. But when you see it actually in motion and stuff, like in this episode, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It's nice. But it is a shame that we're never going to see what her final results would have been had she not immediately fallen pregnant. Because, you know, again, while your tissue is trying to like, you know, this is the bone where it's supposed to all like heal down to, but like instead of giving it the time to heal down, what did you do? You got pregnant, which is when your nose. Why do I even have this? I don't know this. What you got pregnant. Sorry guys, I have like all this makeup in my nails. But you got pregnant. So instead of doing this, your tissue's actually doing this. So you'll never see what the final result would have been, I don't think. I think that ruined the healing process for her, especially with how quickly. You're supposed to typically wait at least a year before getting pregnant so that your nose can actually heal. And she just, of course, neglected to do that. Now, she sits down at the dinner table after this like whole nose job thing with Mia and Christy. And Christy says that Gypsy should have left Ryan a long time ago. And I gotta say, my favorite person in this entire season of the show is none other than Gypsy Rose's sister, Mia. I find her to be super honest, super level-headed, and she's just not with the mess. You know what I mean? She's someone where I do think she would have supported Gypsy leaving Ryan if Gypsy had done it in an honorable way, not if she was like, oh, I'll only leave him if Ken is in the background kind of thing. Like she has a lot of integrity, unlike Gypsy and unlike Christy. And so I truly, truly love her for that. Because guess what? Mia didn't even really like Ryan like that. Remember, she full-blown called him a groupie to his face in episode 1, okay? And like she was very much like on the fence about him and his authenticity and everything like that, his reasons for being with her sister. So despite all this, the fact that she still was like advocating for Gypsy to treat that man with respect, for Christy to stop talking crap about him, like kudos to you. You are my kind of girl. I am all about integrity. And so, you know, I really did love that about her. Now, she also blamed Christy for the dissolution of Gypsy's marriage, which is true. Christy had no business to be out there relaying all sorts of messages to Gypsy about Ken. You know, she should have told Ken, if you really want to be her man, go ahead and talk to her on your own. Leave me out of this. I am not going to meddle. She's married now, and that ship has sailed. You left her. You got to, you know, live with the consequences of your choices at the end of the day. That's what she should have done, right? And So Christy's like, no, like, I don't regret anything I did. Like, this needed to happen. You know, they talk about how Ken claimed he was protecting Gypsy. And then in her confessional, Mia's like, listen, like, how the heck was Ken protecting Gypsy by going behind her back to like talk about her with the stepmom, knowing that she's married, right? Like, how is meddling in Gypsy's marriage protecting her? And you know that like the public was going to have such a rough reaction to it and treat her terribly for this. So how are you protecting her by like destroying her public image, like when she's freshly out of prison and everything like that? And I'm like, you know what, Mia? Questions that need answers, girl. Thank you for asking them. And she also decides to go in on her mom a little bit. She tells her mom, listen, and you just know that she has been through some stuff with her meddling ass mom, right? She says, listen, if my mom did this to me, you know, in regards to my exes, I'm with someone new and she goes to my ex trying to like get them back together with me, I would fight. And I'm like, good for you, because you are a woman of integrity and you don't accept that kind of BS. And so Gypsy and her stepmom Christy, they're talking about how Ryan's been talking crap about Ken and stuff like that. Again, Mia comes and she says, why shouldn't he talk poorly about Ken? Ken broke up his marriage. Ken was creeping on his wife when he was happily married to her. Ken left his wife just to come back and try to get her back now that the hard part of being his prison fiance or lover is over. Now that she actually is out and everything and you can see her all the time, he suddenly wants her back now that she's got the reality show. Please. Good. Mia, keep on telling that truth. I love that she was not afraid to stand up to them. And then Christy and Gypsy, they're just like two, like, you know, blind leading the blind, people who are always going to ride for each other and their poor choices. And Mia just got tired of talking about it with them. She's like, you know what? I'm shutting down at this point because there's no point in even discussing this with you guys because you're obviously so like, you know, fixed on your position. So whatever. Stay in your delusion. Meanwhile, Ryan goes and visits his mom and talks about Gypsy texting him in the middle of the night. And I'm like, Gypsy, you're sending him pictures of you and Ken. You're texting him in the middle of the night. You're constantly calling him. What is up with that? Stop playing with this man's emotions. Meanwhile, you're boning Ken and you're gaslighting him about it and everything like that. You're getting matching tattoos and you're claiming y'all are just friends and you're not committing adultery. Girl, I was so beyond frustrated with Gypsy this episode. She was coming across so poorly. She was looking so toxic. She was looking so manipulative. I like have never disliked her throughout the series. I've seen the complexities of her and like the complexities of Ryan. And I've disliked Ryan before, but now I'm like, Ryan, I feel bad for you. Like this girl, she's been playing us. She's been playing you. Like this is terrible, you know? So anyway, he's with his mom and they talk about how they got those matching tattoos of those like husky dogs. Meanwhile, she's got an actual dog that she abandoned and everything like that. And he had a hard time even talking about the tattoo. He said that was the most hurtful thing, you know, mind you. And he didn't even mention this in the episode. Maybe it got cut out, but he and Gypsy had gone to a tattoo shop. She got some kind of tattoo representing New Orleans or Louisiana. And then he got a tattoo representing her, like a rose. And then he had hinted at her wanting, you know, at her getting a tattoo to honor him, and she just wasn't up for it. So he's like, you didn't even get one with me. You didn't get one to honor me. Meanwhile, you have this guy that you're telling me is a friend. I'm your husband. You wouldn't do this for me. But you got a matching tattoo with Ken? Yo, I would have flipped my lid. You guys, I truly, truly would have. Like, it's cruel what it is that she's done and the way she's being so public about it. She did not need to be so public about all of this, but she is doing it, and it is just so terrible. Now, his mom calls out all of like Gypsy's manipulation. She's like, there's a reason she's not going no contact with you, and it's because she's manipulative. So keep your eye open, Ryan. And I love that she said that to him. Then Christy, meanwhile, back in Gypsy's neck of the woods, she blames Gypsy. So she's talking to Gypsy's dad, and she basically blames him for the marriage ending. She knows it's her fault, but she wants to shift the blame. You know, she's very off. She's giving, you know, manipulator vibes. You know, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe Gypsy's dad is attracted to manipulative women who seek chaos, negativity, and drama, because the dad stayed out of this because Gypsy's a grown-ass 30-something-year-old woman who can make her own choices. And this woman kept on meddling because she might low-key have a crush on Ken and she wants him around. Now she's like, no, the reason that marriage ended is because you did not tell her not to marry Ryan. Why the hell should Gypsy's dad tell her not to marry Ryan? That's her own choice. Like, she has the right to decide for herself. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, who needs their parents to tell them not to marry someone, you know? Like, and even if they tell you not to, you'll do it anyway because typically, because you're a grown ass person. You make your own decisions, right? So I really, really didn't like that. Anyway, Ken comes over to the house, and they talk about like first of all, before they even get into what they're talking about, did you guys notice that Gypsy was wearing a K necklace for Ken? This married woman, like she is such, I'm sorry, but she's giving joke. It's such a joke. Like you just got back together with this guy. You're lying to your husband, talking about we're not romantic. I'm not committing adultery. Like we haven't done anything. Like, we're not sleeping together. We're not doing nothing. Meanwhile, you're saying you'll be with him in 6 to 9 months. You're getting matching tattoos. And now you've got a K necklace. Girl, come on. You are nuttier than squirrel. Okay? Like you were truly a child at your 30 years of age. It just is crazy. She never wore an R for Ryan, her husband. Anyway, I gotta say this. Marrying Gypsy was a major mistake on Ryan's part. Everyone in Gypsy's life is telling her, oh, marrying Ryan was a mistake, blah, blah, blah. I need someone to say this. Marrying Gypsy was a mistake, Ryan. It goes both ways. This woman truly is chaotic. She truly is a mess. She truly is unhinged. Like she is just, and it's so sad to think that someone so immature, so childish is expecting a child. We already have enough, childish individuals raising children, and here comes another one, my God. Wow. Anyway, when Ken pulls up, by the way, you see her Christy obsessing over his dog. She keeps going, let your dog out, let your dog out. Where's the dog? Where's the dog? It's like, girl, how often are you seeing this man and his dog? Because this breakup was fresh and she just got back to him recently. How often are you seeing this dog? Were you seeing him behind Gypsy's back? Were you doing doggy style with him? All this talk about dogs and your obsession with this man, it's getting weird. Gypsy's dad, you better look into her phone. What else has she been talking to Ken about all this time? Mark my words, if it ever comes out that Ken and Christy were secretly having an affair, I was the first to call it, because something is off about her obsession with him. They had this long hug when he arrives. Typically you do a little hug like, hi, but when she hugs him, she's like this. First of all, Gypsy climbs up on him and does the bear hug with like the arms and the legs, right? A bear climbing a tree. That was Gypsy. This is Christy. She gives him a hug. You smell good. Tell me that's platonic. Don't worry, I'll wait for you to lie and tell me that's platonic. Come on now. Anyway, I thought it was kind of gross how Gypsy just sat on his lap in front of her parents and stuff. Like, I don't like when people do this. I have a friend, she's from Spain, Granada, and I have another friend, she's from Peru. And I speak Spanish as well. And I wanted to have like a little Spanish-speaking girls' night. So I invited the girls. And the Peruvian girl showed up with her boyfriend, and I had no idea she was going to show up with her boyfriend. And we didn't have a seat for the guy at the bar we went to, because we booked a table for like 3, but it's not like a table. It's like a lounge. So it's like a thing and 3 tabourets, it's hard to explain. It's not like a typical 4. And so she goes, it's okay, I'll sit on his lap. And so she sits on his lap, and they're, from time to time. And my friend is so traumatized from having a roommate who would do this all the time with her guy. And so like now maybe I've inherited her phobia of that, or like her distaste for that, displeasure for that. But yeah, I was like, girl, not you sitting on his lap making out with him in front of your parents. I can't even hold hands in front of my parents, much less kiss on the mouth. That was so funny. So anyway, her dad makes a speech about how he, the reason why he did not like intervene when Gypsy was going through her stuff with Ryan was because he didn't want to control her. She's been controlled her whole life. He's nervous about her being with Ken because Ken already broke her heart, and he doesn't want them to hide from the world this whole love that they're experiencing, because her whole early life was already a lie. So it was like a lot of twists and turns in his speech, but it was certainly authentic. Then he talks about Gypsy wanting a baby. I'm like, why is it always the lunatics that are dying to have kids? There's so many rational, well-to-do, well-educated people who do not want to have kids, but trust and believe the lunatics without much to offer, they are always first in line to pop those things out. Whoo! Now, cut back to the screen of Gypsy announcing that it's the end of May and she missed her period and she's got a positive pregnancy test. Actually, not just 1, but 2. Lord have mercy. This show is so up to date, and it's full of so many twists and turns, because they were trying to fit it all into only 8 episodes or something like that. Oh, It was a lot. It really was a roller coaster ride, this episode. Now, I don't get the vibe that Ken is deeply in love with Gypsy. I feel like he's kind of neutral, and I still get scummy vibes from him. I don't know. I feel like Gypsy's going to fall on her face with this guy. And if Gypsy falls on her face, Chrissy better feel guilty because she's the one who caused all of this mess. Then cut again. Oh my God, let me catch my breath. But here we go. It's Ryan dropping a major bomb that Gypsy doesn't actually know who the daddy is. Because guess what? They were raw dogging it and he was shooting up that club around the same time. Because guess what? She hopped right from his bed into Ken's bed, and she's like, Gypsy and I were trying to get pregnant. And this is where my distaste for Gypsy gets a little extreme. I'm not gonna say I hate her, but I was like, you're a manipulative girl. You played in my face. But here, this is where I get really disgusted because okay, she's in contact with him, talking about, I wish I could take your pain away. I'm not boning him. Meanwhile, she's raw dogging him, right? Dude, you were trying to get Gypsy, if you're watching, you were trying to get pregnant with Ryan. Meanwhile, you call him up while you're riding in the car with your sister, and I'm sure I got a photo of that. This was the scene. And you're talking about, I could be pregnant because he was raw dogging me and finishing in my coochie. And then the sister tells you to get some plan B and you agree to get plan B. Then you call up this man that you are planning to have a child with to talk about, I'm so innocent. Look, we might be pregnant. Let me get some plan B to prevent that. But you are planning to have kids with him? If what he's saying is true, then this woman truly is sick. Imagine that. Imagine you as a woman, because most of you who watch me are women. Imagine you are married to a man, a husband, and you both decide that you're going to try to have children. And then your husband calls you up one day with his brother, talking about, I'm on my way to the clinic to get a vasectomy. And you're like, well, why would you be getting a vasectomy? We're trying to have kids. And then when you're upset with the way that they're doing this and they're springing this on you in front of cameras and in front of their family, they paint you as crazy, jealous, possessive, and controlling. Yo, what she did to that man is truly sick, conniving, and evil. If what he's saying is true, that they were secretly planning to have a child. This is a video of him, how distraught he was after that conversation with her. He's like, girl, why would you call me about this on the phone? And you're over here giggling, kikiing with your sister about taking, plan B. I shot up your club with intention. And the intention on both of our parts was to have a child. So what is this? And then to do that, spring that on me, paint me out to be a control freak, right? Who's controlling your body. And then to turn around and get knocked up by the man you told me not to worry about, the man you told me you're not committing adultery with, you're sick in the mind, you're sick in the soul. Wow. That's some crazy stuff. Truly, truly, truly. No wonder Ryan was so pissed off in this scene. I would be pissed off too. Wow. And then anyway, he ends this by asking, how happy could Gypsy really be if she's still out here contacting me all the time? Good question. I think she just wants your attention at all times. She wants to always have another man in her pocket. Now I have to go, and I keep saying this. I've been saying this since the beginning of all my recapping of this, but I have to go back and watch what she did with that man that she had off her mother. How manipulative was she in regards to that man? Now that I've seen the way she treats Ryan, her husband, I got to go back and watch that documentary and watch everything I can about this woman and what she really is like, with men, what her history is like, because this is just, wow. This is some really diabolical stuff. Now, at the end, she's frolicking in the meadows with Ken after announcing the pregnancy, and then she's claiming that she's really worried about all the drama that she brings to his life. Mind you, they didn't show the pictures of the sonogram and stuff, but when they were rolling around in the fields, it was to take this photo because she's wearing the same dress you see on the left. So, and he's wearing that same outfit too. So it's she's like, yeah, I feel like I bring a certain level of drama to his life. I'm scared he'll leave me. Huh. Wouldn't that be a shame if someone you were madly in love with and someone who was, supposedly committed to you just suddenly left you out of nowhere, Gypsy? Wow. No explanation, no looking back, and replaced you with another woman. Imagine what co-parenting with Gypsy Rose would be like for Ken, if he left her for another woman, she would go psychotic, balls to the wall, doing everything she can to make his life a living hell. And I also see her being the type to make a quick replacement baby and going through all of this repeatedly, racking up the baby daddies. This woman is as unstable gets. This finale episode completely transformed my view of her. Go back and watch my recaps if you feel so obliged. But at the beginning of this, I was so optimistic and hopeful and happy for her and ready for her to, truly live a life after suffering so much. People were constantly in my comments telling me I was so naive to who she was. And I was like, maybe you guys are so cynical about who she is. She did suffer, nonetheless. But wow. After watching this finale and seeing the way that she completely devastated this man, I'm disgusted. Truly. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for joining me throughout the entire season of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. I am crossing my fingers that there are future seasons to come because Lord knows this situation with Ken, with Ryan in the background, I would love to continue watching play out. It's only going to go, get more dramatic from here. And I really hope that we are able to follow that journey. Okay. I will be letting you guys know if it is renewed. I really, truly am hoping it is renewed. I will let you know. But in the meantime, let me know what you thought about the season finale of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup in the comments section down below. Did she change? Did your view of her change? Like with this one final episode, did it change for the more positive, for the negative, or are you still remaining rather neutral about her? Or did the opinion just not change at all? Let me know what you think. And per usual, we'll chat. Don't forget, I did watch this show using Philo. I've got an affiliate link in the description box of this video so that you too can use Philo to stream the show and, stream shows on, 70 plus other channels that you might be interested in. You get a free 7-day trial, okay, with my affiliate link. So definitely go ahead, make sure to sign up. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. See you next time. Bye.